For the first time in modern history, the next generation is starting life on a financial back foot. There's an old saying that a society's strength is measured by what it builds for the future, even if the builders won't be there to see it. But our current economic reality seems to have forgotten this wisdom. We're witnessing a historic reversal of a centuries-long trend. Progress is no longer guaranteed. The fundamental expectation that our children will have more opportunities than we did is crumbling. The ladder of upward mobility has lost its bottom rungs. This isn't about minor setbacks. We're talking about a systemic shift where young adults today can only dream of the financial security their parents achieved. So how did we get here? Reliable careers are harder to find. Home ownership feels like a distant fantasy. Starting a family is a financial calculation. Saving for retirement? A dark joke. This is happening in a world that is objectively wealthier than ever before, which leads to the central, baffling contradiction. Why, in an age of unprecedented global wealth, are our newest generations falling behind? What invisible force is driving this wedge? Is there a single root cause we can identify? And if we find it, can we stop it? Or are we locked into a future where every new generation inherits a smaller piece of the pie? And we must also ask the uncomfortable question, does any of this ultimately matter, since wealth will eventually be passed down anyway? Let's talk about population power. Standard economic theory suggests being part of a smaller age group is an advantage. Less competition for jobs, housing, and resources. So, how do we explain the success of the massive baby boomer generation? A compelling theory flips this logic. In a democratic system, a large generation holds immense power. When they were young, their collective voice pushed for policies that benefited their youth. Affordable education, family support, and strong social safety nets. As they aged and their priorities shifted, so did their voting patterns. They began supporting lower taxes on income, deregulation, and policies that protected their growing assets, like zoning laws that limited housing supply and drove up property values. In the post-war era, a house was primarily a place to live. By the time the boomers reached peak earning power, real estate had transformed into a primary investment vehicle. We turned shelter into a speculative game. In their later years, this powerful voting bloc now focuses on protecting retirement benefits and medical care, often at the expense of the very programs that helped them rise. This pattern is visible across many Western nations. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the housing trap. The boomer generation had a unique advantage beyond just policy. They were a large group in a much smaller world. Global population was a fraction of what it is today. This meant less competition for everything: jobs, resources, and land. With a tighter labor market, workers had more bargaining power. Single-income households were common, which kept living expenses lower and accelerated the ability to save. A common retort is that interest rates were sky-high in the 80s. Let's break that down. The median home price then, adjusted for income, was significantly lower. While the interest rate was 15%, the actual annual financial burden was half of what a buyer faces today. High rates back then actually helped savers and kept a lid on runaway prices. Today, the combination of colossal principal and interest creates a debt sentence that spans decades. Why does this single issue matter so much? Because housing is uniquely unproductive. Unlike a factory that produces goods or a company that creates services, a house, as an asset, doesn't generate new value for the economy. It simply exists. When too much capital flows into real estate, it gets stuck. It's not reinvested into innovation or productive enterprise. It creates a vicious cycle. Rising rents force wages up just to keep workers in a city, but the profits from those higher wages often flow right back to landlords, who then buy more property, pushing prices even higher. This sucks the life out of productive economic centers. High housing costs also freeze people in place. A recent study found over half of young adults live with their parents. This kills geographic mobility. A great job offer in another city becomes a daunting, often impossible financial calculation. Both the worker and the economy lose. This concentration of wealth and assets in one generation has profound consequences, creating a logjam that threatens long-term economic dynamism. But is this situation even permanent? The great wealth transfer is coming. People don't live forever, and trillions will be passed down. So, is this just a temporary bottleneck? Unfortunately, the inheritance solution is flawed. Most people receive this wealth when they are already in their 50s or 60s, late in their own careers. It becomes retirement padding, not seed capital for a new business or a first home. The money remains pooled with older populations. Furthermore, a vast portion of inherited wealth is tied up in small, private businesses that the next generation may not want or be able to run. The failure of these businesses would represent a massive loss to the economy. You can't build a vibrant economy on a foundation of people waiting for their parents to die. Economists call this the intergenerational wealth problem. We might call it the waiting for inheritance paradox. So who is really to blame for this mess? It's easy to point fingers at an entire generation, but is that fair or productive? Voting in your own self-interest is the bedrock of democracy. We can't realistically expect people to vote against their own financial well-being. we also have to acknowledge the incredible luck of the 20th century. It was a period of relative peace, exploding global trade, and cheap energy. It was, historically speaking, a golden age to build wealth. And let's not forget the role of extreme wealth concentration. A small number of billionaires from that generation can skew the average wealth figures for everyone else, making the gap appear even wider than it is for the typical family. Look at a place like China. Their older generation, the lost generation, did not enjoy the same prosperity, proving that broader economic conditions are a more powerful force than just voting power. The problem is not a single generation of villains. The problem is a system that has become unbalanced, where the rules that worked for one era are failing the next. The question is, can we rebalance it? If you found this breakdown insightful, please give this video a like. It truly helps the channel Wines of Thought grow. Let's continue this crucial conversation in the comments. We're living in the most abundant time in human history, so why does everything feel so scarce? For the first time, a generation is facing the real prospect of being worse off than their parents. But this isn't just a financial crisis, it's a psychological one. We've developed a scarcity mindset. The scarcity mindset isn't just about not having money. It's a cognitive tunnel vision where your brain focuses so intensely on what you lack that it can't see long-term opportunities. You're putting out fires instead of building a fortress. This is why the side hustle generation is so exhausted. We're running on a treadmill just to stay in place. Our parents' and grandparents' world was built on a psychology of abundance. The goal was to accumulate. The American dream was a promise. Our world is defined by a psychology of scarcity. The goal is to not lose what little we have. The dream feels like a lottery ticket. We weren't taught to build wealth. We were taught to avoid poverty. This shift changes everything, from how we approach careers to why we delay starting families. The solution isn't just to make more money. It's to rewire your brain to see abundance again. This means consciously focusing on non-monetary forms of wealth. Your skills, your network, your time. It means taking calculated risks instead of just playing defense. The most valuable asset you can build in an age of scarcity is a mindset of abundance. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and share one thing you feel is abundant in your life down in the comments. Let's break the scarcity cycle together.